Ever wondered how the land down under came into existence? Let's dive into the ancient beginnings of Australia, a land rich in history and brimming with unique life. In the beginning, there wasn't an Australia but a colossal supercontinent known as Gondwana. This gigantic landmass was home to what would eventually become Antarctica, South America, Africa, Madagascar, and of course, Australia. Over millions of years, tectonic forces beneath the Earth's crust began to pull Gondwana apart, finally isolating Australia around 90 million years ago. This isolation set the stage for the evolution of Australia's one-of-a-kind flora and fauna. As the continent drifted towards its current position, the climate changed drastically, leading to the evolution of the most diverse and unique wildlife on the planet. From the cuddly koalas to the hopping kangaroos, Australia became a land like no other. But what about the human history of Australia? The first people to step foot on this vast continent were the Aboriginals, believed to have arrived around 65,000 years ago. These first Australians traveled across land bridges and short sea crossings from what is now Southeast Asia. The Aboriginal people were not just survivors but also storytellers, artists, and spiritualists. Their culture was vibrant and deeply rooted in the land they inhabited. One of the most captivating aspects of Aboriginal culture is the concept of dream time. These are not just stories or myths, but a spiritual framework that connects the past, present, and future. It's a complex network of knowledge, faith, and practices that derive from stories of creation, forming the core of Aboriginal philosophy. From tales of the rainbow serpent creating the rivers and gorges, to the story of the kangaroo's hop, Dreamtime stories offer a fascinating glimpse into the rich tapestry of Aboriginal culture. These stories passed down through generations have served as a guide for living and surviving in harmony with the land. The Aboriginal people, with their rich culture and Dreamtime stories, were the first to call this vast continent home. As we move forward in our journey, we will discover how this ancient land transformed into the Australia we know today. But what happened when the Europeans set foot on this distant land? Well, the story of European discovery of Australia is indeed a fascinating one. It all started in the early 17th century with the Dutch. The first known European to sight Australia was Dutch explorer Willem Janszoon in 1606. However, it was not until the voyages of Abel Tasman in 1642 and 1644 that the Dutch charted much of the continent's western and northern coastlines. Despite these early encounters, the Dutch showed little interest in colonizing the land they called New Holland. Fast forward to the 18th century, the British arrived on the scene. The most notable among them was Captain James Cook. In 1770, Cook navigated his vessel, the Endeavour, along the eastern coast of Australia. He landed at a place he named Botany Bay, claiming the land for Britain and calling it New South Wales. Cook's detailed maps and notes about the fertile soil, abundant flora and fauna, significantly influenced the British decision to establish a colony there. 18 years later, in 1788, the first fleet arrived. Led by Captain Arthur Phillip, this fleet comprised 11 ships carrying about 1,400 people, half of them convicts. They established a penal colony in what is now Sydney. This colony was Britain's solution to overcrowded prisons back home, and a strategic move to prevent other European powers from claiming parts of Australia. Life in the penal colony was harsh. Convicts labored in dreadful conditions, while the free settlers, officers, and marines struggled to cultivate the land. Despite these hardships, the colony survived and slowly expanded as more convicts and free settlers arrived. The arrival of the Europeans marked a significant turning point in Australia's history. Indeed, from the early Dutch explorations to the establishment of the British penal colony, European discovery and colonization dramatically reshaped Australia's landscape and its indigenous cultures. But this was just the beginning of Australia's journey into the annals of history. Did you know a shiny metal played a huge part in shaping modern Australia? In the mid-19th century, the Australian gold rush hit full force, forever changing the landscape of the country. The discovery of gold in the 1850s brought about an influx of immigrants from all corners of the globe. These fortune seekers, known as diggers, were drawn to the promise of striking it rich. This unprecedented migration led to a dramatic increase in Australia's population, and with it came an economic boom. Suddenly, Australia was more than just a distant colony. It was a land of opportunity. But the gold rush was not all prosperity and good fortune. The harsh conditions of the goldfields and the unfair licensing system led to growing discontent among the diggers. This culminated in the Eureka Stockade in 1854, a rebellion that is often viewed as the birthplace of Australian democracy. The miners' fight for their rights paved the way for significant political and social change. In the wake of the Eureka Stockade, the push for federation gained momentum. The disparate colonies of Australia began to see the value in uniting under a single national government. The idea of federation was not new, but it was the gold rush and the issues it unearthed that really brought it to the forefront. After years of debates, conventions, and referendums, the 6 colonies united to form the Commonwealth of Australia on the first day of the 20th century. The new nation was born not out of revolution or war, but through peaceful negotiation and the collective desire for a better future. The gold rush and the subsequent federation set Australia on its path to becoming the nation we know today. The shiny metal not only brought wealth, but it also brought people, ideas, and the spark that ignited the flame of nationhood. So the next time you think of gold, remember that it's more than just a precious metal. In the case of Australia, it was a catalyst for change and progress. How did Australia navigate the tumultuous 20th century? It's a question that packs a century's worth of history into one sentence, and it's a story filled with resilience, transformation, and progress. The century opened with Australia playing a significant role in both world wars. In the First World War, Australia's contributions were pivotal, with over 400,000 men enlisting. The Second World War saw even more Australians serve, their efforts leaving an indelible mark on the nation's identity. But it wasn't just wars that shaped Australia. The Great Depression of the 1930s hit the country hard, leading to widespread unemployment and economic hardship. Despite these challenges, the Australian spirit shone through, with communities coming together to support one another, laying the foundations for the fair and equal society we see today. Then came the post-war immigration boom. Following the devastation of World War II, Australia opened its doors to millions of immigrants, many of whom were displaced by the war. This wave of immigration significantly diversified the Australian population, adding new layers to its rich cultural tapestry. Yet, not all doors were open. The White Australia policy, introduced in the early 20th century, was a discriminatory immigration policy that favored applicants from certain European countries. It was a dark chapter in Australia's history, but one that eventually led to significant change. The policy was abolished in the mid-20th century, paving the way for a more inclusive and diverse Australia. And we cannot forget the importance of the 1967 referendum for Aboriginal rights. This landmark event saw over 90% of Australians voting to amend the Constitution, leading to greater recognition and rights for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It was a monumental step towards equality and reconciliation. The 20th century brought both challenges and progress, shaping the multicultural Australia we see today. From the battlefields of global conflicts to the fight for equality at home, Australia navigated the 20th century with resilience and determination, forever evolving and striving for a better future. So, what's Australia like today? Australia stands tall in the 21st century as a prosperous, developed nation. Its vibrant economy, founded on strong institutions and a rich mix of natural resources, is among the world's largest. The land down under is a place where modernity and tradition harmoniously coexist. Its diverse culture, a tapestry woven with threads from all corners of the globe, is a testament to its welcoming spirit and open arms. The cities of Australia are a cosmopolitan wonder. Sydney, with its iconic Opera House and Harbour Bridge, offers a world-class lifestyle. Melbourne, often dubbed the cultural heart of Australia, is a hub for arts, food and sport. Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, each city, unique in its own right, contributes to the vibrant mosaic that is Australia. But Australia's influence extends far beyond its shores. It plays a pivotal role in the Asia-Pacific region, fostering economic ties and diplomatic relations with its neighbors. It's a key player on the global stage, contributing to peacekeeping missions and international discourse on important issues. However, like any nation, Australia is not without its challenges. The journey towards reconciliation with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples remains an ongoing endeavor. Acknowledging the past wrongs, honoring the rich indigenous heritage, and recognizing their rightful place in the nation's story is a path Australia continues to tread. Additionally, environmental issues pose significant challenges. Australia's unique biodiversity is under threat from climate change and habitat loss. The Great Barrier Reef, a World Heritage Site and one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, is a stark reminder of the urgent need for environmental conservation. From the sun-baked outback to the bustling urban centers, from the traditional sounds of the didgeridoo to the multicultural rhythm of modern Australia, the nation is a melting pot of experiences and stories. From an ancient land to a modern nation, Australia's journey is a fascinating tale of resilience and transformation. Each sunrise brings a new day, a new chapter in the ongoing story of Australia, a story that continues to unfold.